Hi everyone, welcome to Potluck Food Talks. Not what you expected, is it? This week I'm here with my buddy Eric. Eric, how have you been?
Hey, how you doing?
Good
Feels
man.
awkward
Good.
you doing the intro. You want me to do it
Yeah, it
or
felt
is it a...
awkward for me too. Let's not do that again. Uh,
So what are we talking
um,
about today?
Man, I really wanted to talk to you about the Amazon, not the evil multi-billion trillion company with that weird bald guy, but the river and the region around it, and the jungle, and the tribes, and you spent a lot of time there, and I think it's a really interesting culinary landscape. How was your
Yeah,
experience
well,
there?
yeah, like I visited the Amazon many times as a kid because Venezuela has also part of the Amazon, and I have visited in different countries, Bolivia, Brazil, Peru, and Venezuela. I haven't been to Colombia. I know Colombia is super interesting as well. Um, but yeah, what can I say about the Amazon? Well, first of all, like the whole rainforest was human created. When humans arrived to South America, like about 20,000 years ago, they created these islands of agriculture, like these forest islands, and the whole thing grew into the forest that we know today. And things that I've seen that I feel are super interesting. Um, Wait, I have to arrange my ideas. Okay, so for example, there is this flatbread in Venezuela called casabe, and this bread is made of yuca manioc, but a specific one that is a poisonous one. So there is this specific procedure to cook it, which is not that complicated. It's like grating it and changing the water, and then the second batch you can actually use it to cook without being it poisonous. Today there are new varieties that are not poisonous anymore. So all the maniocs that you will find in the supermarkets in Latin America are perfectly edible. Yeah, but the thing is, I grew up with this flatbread called casabe, learning that it was something super Venezuelan from the indigenous people and blah blah blah. But of course, we don't get so much history of the pre European civilizations and cultures because basically the reigning culture is the one that exterminated them or dominated them. So it makes sense that they don't care about them like structurally. I would say
Yeah.
nowadays the new generations are really interested in getting all that knowledge back. There was a lot of knowledge lost just by losing the languages and the religions. You can imagine how many things got lost there. But what my point was, when I went to Bolivia, which is pretty far away from Venezuela, they also had this flatbread called casabe, and they also say that there's something from them that they always had it. And for me, this was like super crazy, and it really changed my way of understanding the continent. Of course, you see in Europe, and you will see countries that have variation of the word bread or the word pan in different variations. But you can track it down. This comes from the Romans or the Germans, and that's where the word comes from. Well, in the case of casabe, there was a specific tribe that was a very dominant one all over the region. It was called the Arawak. So there was a Caribe ethnic, the Caribe family. Then you have the Arawak, and there are of course many others. But this one, the Arawak, again, this is something that I when I went to school in Venezuela, you learn that the Arawakos or Arawaks. It's an ethnic, an indigenous family that you have in the country, but you like, or at least I didn't pay it enough attention at school. But I didn't got that this was all over South America. They get as far as to Bolivia, you know. And when it wasn't, and these are the responsibles of having this flatbread that you will find it also in the Caribbean. They also these tribes could also navigate, and they were also spread in the Caribbean into the deep Amazonas with the same language and these kind of things, like a specific bread that is something that can survive, colonization and transculturalization and all these kind of things, but the bread remains with the same word and across the continent, and I thought that was pretty interesting. Um, but then other things that, well, first of all, there are many, many things that come from the Amazonas that we see daily, like chilies or what else? A pineapple. There are lots of, the different fruits and things that have their origin there. Well, perhaps I said something wrong. Perhaps somebody will say, no, pineapples are not from the rainforest, they're from the mountain or something like that. But, anyways, um, so things. Another thing that I thought that I found that was really interesting, similar to casabe, was that I saw this ant chili sauce in Venezuela, and for me this was super interesting because it has like a completely different flavor. But then all of my life I thought that actually the ants gave the spiciness to the sauce. So it was like, oh wow, you have like a different source of spiciness that is not capsicum, but it's like ants. And then I found out that no, the ants are not spicy. They add chili to the sauce, and that's what makes it spicy. And the ants are only for flavor, but they have like this really deep, meaty flavor. So and again, this is also made like with a fermented yuca juice, manioc juice that they use to also to give more flavor to the sauce. And again, they have the same thing in Peru and in Bolivia with different names. And for me, this was also super interesting, but because these are these kind of things like, I don't know, hummus that you will find all over the Mediterranean, but they're from completely different cultures, or Middle East, better said, and then they have different variations. So you will find this fermented yuca sauce with ants in different parts of the Amazonas with different variations. In Brazil, they have like a variation called tucupi, which is like a liquid yellow sauce, and you will find it in markets all over the Amazonas, and it's like a super sour sauce. Like it's very sour, and this sauce was featured in some of the menus at El Bulli. Like when I was doing some research, like Ferran served. But when I see this, and also in the last book of Tapas of Albert Adrià, he also has like a tucupi featured somewhere. But when I see that, it feels wrong to me somehow, because to make these sauces, these specific ones, you do need the how to say, this bitter, poisonous yuca to do the original right thing, right? Which you
Right.
won't find. You won't even find like a, for mine reference, like the yucas you see in South America and Europe. You will find like a different one, which is the African one, and it's not the same thing, and you won't get the same effect. These are these things with, cooking recipes from other countries, and trying to replicate them with local ingredients, and it's not going to be ever the same. But
Yeah.
yeah, I would say those two things were kind of like um, were impressive to me, to see that there are like this parallelism, or this um, recipes or dishes that you find in different regions of the Amazonas. It's also important to mention that as I said, you go today to a village in the Amazonas, and this is also like new settlers with different. It's not like, remember the episode of Taboo Foods where I mentioned that mushrooms are not eaten in the Amazonas? Well, that's incorrect. Like, of course, ancient tribes did everything with mushrooms, even as like hunting amulets with magic properties, or also as drugs or medicines or food or all kinds of things. But all that knowledge, as I was mentioning, got lost. Like you see these new generations, and it's that they're not necessarily linked to these tribes. For example, my friend Kenzo, he's a first. I don't know how many generation he has, but he has like Japanese heritage, but he's from the Amazonas. You see, like there are like these settlers that come from different places that got installed there and made their villages and communities, but they have no link to shamanism or like this old knowledge from old cultures in most cases. And again, you all over the Amazonas, it doesn't matter where, it's completely Christian. You won't see any religion that is not Christianism in the Amazonas. Well, except of course of remote tribes that haven't got like colonized or transculturalized. But yeah, I would say those are like the most interesting things. There's also this huge fish called pirarucu or paiche. It's like a huge monster. Like it can,
Like
you know,
prehistoric sort of dinosaur fish, right? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It
Don't they
can
make
be
don't they make leather out of the skin also?
yeah, leather, and it's also processes similar to codfish. Salted, especially in Brazil. It's an invasive species, so it's good to hunt it. You have to hunt it. You don't fish the thing. You need like a specific procedure to get it. And these are like like a big one can be as big as two or three cars in line. Like that large. Um, and yeah, those are some. Well, and of course you have all these palms. Where with different types of fruits. A very famous one is acai, that it has become very trendy in this, smoothie, healthy domain. It's considered a superfood. But like this acai, that is a fruit from a palm tree, there are millions of different ones, and also millions of different palm hearts that you can eat. But I mean, I could talk on and on and on of different ingredients and things. Uh, Dude, I need to make like a conclusion that I can come up with.
Yeah, I mean, this was just a crazy monologue that just like, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm
um,
super hungover. Sorry, I came
no,
home
that's
at
okay. I mean,
6 a.m.
it's interesting stuff, you know.
But
Um,
how should I close this? Okay. So, but yeah, basically that's it. There are many chefs that have worked with specific produces from the Amazonas. Probably one of the most famous one is Alex Atala, but
of course.
in Peru you have Pedro Schiaffino. In Venezuela you have Nelson Mendez. In Colombia you have Eduardo Martinez. There is also in Belém, in Brazil, is another chef called Tiago Castaño. And these are chefs that they work mostly with Amazonian produce, and working with Amazonian produce, one of the keys is to have a connection with the communities and the producers, and building fruitful relationships.
Yeah,
I
that's
guess
nice.
that was a good ending, no? Or
Yeah, yeah, that's good.
okay, good. Now we can do the fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
Sander is there. Sander, you were
have
listening
you
all
been
the time.
listening?
You naughty.
Well, I did, but he didn't really let me, you know, like,
Because I want to do the video reaction. But okay.
I was waiting for an opportunity to ask some questions, but you just went straight head through the wall.
You wanna? Do you have any questions, Phil, on the Amazon? You,
Well, I mean, I would have asked you sort of like, how much like the sort of like indigenous culture, is present in the everyday life, and like how the area of the Amazonas, because it stretches so far, what differences you see from one end to the other, because like you say, it starts and it goes all the way down to Brazil, no? Like,
and I mean also the things that I mentioned, the cassave went as far as to Bolivia. I really wonder because and it's really easy to imagine how something travels through the Mediterranean, from Spain to let's say Lebanon. You can really picture that, but going through the inside continent, through the jungle and mountains and rivers, that's harder to imagine. But going back
it's
to your
crazy,
question,
yeah.
like, I mean, different to North America, where most native got exterminated during the colonization that didn't happen in Latin America. So ethnically, everybody they have this saying like in Latin America that either you play the drums or you have a bow and arrow. Like either you're Indian or black. Either you have African origin or indigenous
What?
origin. Yeah, el que no
Okay.
el que no tira flecha toca tambor. Like
Okay.
so.
Honestly, I have no idea what you mean by that.
Most people is the color is light brown and is it either indigenous or African.
Yeah.
And but I mean, also in Bolivia, and this is crazy, man. In Bolivia, there is this tribe that is acknowledged by the government. They're called the Toromonas, but
Mm.
they're theoretically nobody has ever seen them officially. Like also, when you go to the
Oh,
jungle, you
wow.
see a lot of these stories of yeah, like you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So sorry, I thought that was my pizza. You're in the middle of nowhere, so people will tell you, "Yeah, I saw these grasshoppers, big as birds." This kind of magical realism. Um, what was I saying?
About the tribe that's acknowledged, the
Yeah, exactly. And the
Tokopi.
Toromonas, that you will find people that claims that they have encountered them,
Uh,
or but it's mostly it feels like a myth. Like it feels like.
yeah.
But yeah, the and well in Venezuela there are the Yanomamis. They're also like a remote tribe, but I mean like. You know how to get to them where their villages are. They're kind of identified, even though they live the same way they have done for centuries.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like to me, from as somebody who's never been there, right? And like looking at it from the outside, like it's super, this whole area is so interesting because, like you say, it kind of grew from like little agriculture sort of plots. So, like, I feel like loads of people imagine it as this like really hostile environment.
It is.
But I think that, yeah, it is, sure. But like at the same time, it feels really plentiful. Like there's so much stuff there. Like it's very giving also. How would you like if you had to sum it up? How would you describe the flora? The
Yeah, I mean, it does feel hostile in terms of you see millions of different mosquitoes from millions of different sizes around you, and you want to get them, you want to get rid of them. That for once, if you talk about the flora and also what you mentioned, like what are the difference from one country to the other. So like if you put the whole Amazonas together, it could be as big as Europe, probably like Central
yeah,
Europe. Um, so it's super diverse, but even in specific regions where I've been, like it feels like you don't see a repeated plant. It feels like every plant is a different one. And if you're walking through the forest, you will see like this crazy micro environments where suddenly everything is full of blue mushrooms, like this, just this space, this, suddenly you enter the domain of this specific color or thing or plant, while you walk, you see lots of animals.
That
You
sounds
you
really
will
trippy.
yeah, you will see, like crocodiles or tigers or snakes for sure,
Yeah, nice. And like food wise, I mean, like if we're talking about the culinary, like the produce landscape, how would you like sum it up? How would you summarize it?
Yeah, like I said, the most people that you will connect to, like in this context, are already transculturalized people. So you will see like the normal food that you will see in the same country, be it Bolivia or Peru, with local variations. But I mean, in the middle of the Amazonas, you will see white cheese or these kind of things that are
Mm,
they feel completely and they are like part of the food culture. But this is something new. It's not something
yeah.
ancient.
Relatively
Um,
new. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But mostly, I would. That's why I mentioned the chili sauces. I thought that was really interesting and distinctive. But besides that, like I would say, what I would call it normal food, like
Mm,
meat and vegetables and these kind of things. But then product-wise, I remember we went like mushroom hunting with Pedro Schiaffino and Jacob Holland there, who really know the forest and where to find mushrooms and these kind of things. So that they really could identify the mushrooms that we could eat, and that they were these mushrooms that they look exactly like ceps, like porcini mushrooms. So
yeah.
probably like like a variation, like an Amazonian variation or something like that. But that was quite amazing. Vanilla, wild vanilla, probably the best vanilla that I've tried in my life was a piece of. I actually had never seen fresh vanilla that looks
Mm.
kind of like a pea or a green plantain, something like that.
I've never seen fresh vanilla. Yeah.
So yeah, because it's like a green thing that you then you ferment it, and until it becomes black.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was really impressive. But again, walking for doing this foraging session with Schiaffino, this is a guy that he would take any plant and eat it. That there is a like a vast potential of things that can be found and done there. And this is the work that chefs like, again, Nuema in Ecuador also, like these chefs are trying to take advantage of this, since you're already in a country that has access to the Amazonas to uh, put this kind of products into the restaurants, which is super interesting.
That's really cool. Yeah.
I feel like
I think that's
my
it, no?
okay, yeah, theoretically, my pizza is on its way.
Nice. I'm
Yeah,
kind of tempted
I
to
guess
order
that was
pizza.
better. Can we
Yeah.
start now with the fun?
Yeah, I don't have that much time left, guys. Like, it's already getting really late.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
Yeah,
just to
let's do
break
it.
the ice. Okay. Sorry, Phil, to make your life so impossible. Wait
That's
a
okay.
second.
It's
Let's
been it's
start
been
with
a
the.
it's been a long and full day.
Um, no, it's my fault because I didn't have the videos prepared. The episodes. Yeah, usually we do that. You want us to do
What?
that?
Let's go.
Okay. Then I have to create a new one, right? I know, or I guess if we stop recording and then start again, does that work?